friends, I am Prashant Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel Social Critic. We are discussing about 10th standard social science topics. Already we discussed the two lessons. Now, third lesson, the impact of British rule in India. So already British occupied India and how they occupied and what are the policies they followed, you know that. And they fulfilled their commercial needs in the beginning as the trade company. As a businessman, they came and they occupied India, and for that they followed divide and rule policy. And to achieve complete domination in India, they employed war and negotiation method cleverly. And here they created one nation concept, and whole India came under their control. No? That's why they adopted many policies. They brought many changes. So as a result, what are the effects on India? What is the impact of British rule in India? Friends, today let us study about that. And first of all, let us discuss about the administrative and the judicial system. In the administrative system, let us discuss about the civil services. What are the changes they made in the civil services? Here we have to remember the name of Lord Cornwallis again and again. Lord Cornwallis introduced the administration of civil services, and the company provided permission for private workers to trade. See, private workers, in the beginning only company they used to do the business, but now private workers they got the permission to do the trade. And here what happened? Because of all these developments, the employers became corrupt. In the administration, employees of East India Company became corrupt. So this one created headache to the British government. They wanted to bring control over the East India Company. That's why, to bring control, the British government introduced Regulating Act in 1773. The British Parliament Regulating Act was passed. About this Regulating Act, let us discuss later in this same lesson. And Lord Cornwallis opened Fort William College in Calcutta. Why? For the benefit of people aspiring to join civil services. Those who want to join civil services, some coachings will be given there in this Fort William College in Calcutta. And then what happened? In the beginning, appointments were made like that only, but now in the civil services, the appointments were made through competitive examinations from 1853. And Lord Cornwallis argued that, see here, appointments were made through competitive exam, everything is okay, but still Indians didn't get justice. Indians were not appointed as the officers. Why? Lord Cornwallis told, he argued, all the native of Hindustan are completely corrupt. He told it's okay, but we also proved in the Battle of Plassey and afterwards, Indians only worked against India. That's why he told they are corrupt. Only lower grade jobs were given to Indians. High jobs were not given, only lower grade jobs were given to Indians. So this is about civil services. Changes they made, impact of civil service. Next we have to discuss about the judicial system. What are the changes they made in the judicial system? And actually judicial system started finding roots when the British rule began to take from the Mughal rulers. And here Mughal Emperor Shah Alam, he handed over Diwani rights to the British. We already discussed about it after Battle of Buxar. And Robert Clive, there he introduced the dual government in Bengal. So there the collection of tax, the authority to collect the tax was given to the company, and other rights, means administrative rights and administrative justice given to the Nawab. So here, uh, mainly Warren Hastings, he brought some changes in the judicial system. According to Warren Hastings, he divided the court into two types. Now what we have the same type, civil court and criminal court. Civil court is called as Diwani Adalat and criminal court is called as Fauzdari Adalat. And in the Diwani Adalat, British legal procedure will be followed to give justice. They were dispensed justice through British legal procedure. But in the criminal code, in the Fauzdari Adalat, it's a difference. For Hindus, they followed Hindu scripture, and the Muslims, they followed Shariat. So this is the difference. And the judge in the Diwani Adalat was a European officer, and Fauzdari Adalat, it was Qazi. Qazis were the Fauzdar Adalat judge. And both these criminal and civil and criminal code, Diwani Adalat and Fauzdari Adalat, functioning under European officer. And again, justice to the Indians is very difficult at that time also. So this is about this judicial system. Next, we have to discuss about police system. There was a police system there. And police system, commonly they maintain internal law and order situation. Here Lord Cornwallis implemented the efficient police system in India, and he created the post of Superintendent of Police, the SP, what we call now. It was created by Lord Cornwallis. He divided the districts into stations, police stations, and these stations were under Kotwal. The head of the station was Kotwal, and in the village, police head, Chowkidar. Yes, and the system of appointing British magistrates started in 1781, and police officers were brought under them. Full police system, police officers were brought under British magistrates. This appointment started in 1781. And in 1861, they implemented police law. See, one by one rules they started to bring. And in 1902, Police Commission law brought educational qualification for the post of police officers. In the beginning, it was not there. And afterwards, they introduced the qualification, educational qualification to the post of police officer. So, which was introduced under Police Commission law of 1902. So, these are the changes in the police system. Next, we have to discuss about the military system. What changes they made in the military system? Actually, military was the base of administration in the British rule. They used to control Indians. They used to control and they used to occupy India through military system. And it's the base. And officers were only the British. Their higher posts were given only to the British. No Indian should be appointed, because they don't want to give the control of the military to the Indians. Indians could reach the rank of Subedar, the maximum up to Subedar they may come. And most of the Indians were coolie soldiers, only the soldiers. And another one very important one you have to remember, friends, that is the military system was redesigned on the recommendations of Peel in 1857. On the recommendation of Peel, military system was redesigned. Yes. So this is about the military system. Next, we have to discuss about land tax policies of British. In the land tax, they introduced three systems of land tax. One permanent zamindari system, and the mahalwari system, then raitwari system. First, let us discuss about permanent zamindari system. So actually, Mughal rulers, when they are ruling, they used to find very difficult to collect the tax from the remote areas. That's why they appointed some tax collecting officers in those areas. So when British started to rule India, that Lord Cornwallis, he made these tax collectors as the permanent owners of the land. As a result, zamindar, they became the zamindars. So this system, permanent zamindar system, was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, very important, who introduced and where he introduced. These two very important ones. Lord Cornwallis introduced in Bengal and Bihar and extended to Odisha, Andhra and Varanasi. And here in this permanent zamindari system, zamindar became the landowner, not the farmer. He had to pay agreed land taxes to the company. Some fixed agreement will be there. According to the agreement, that much amount he has to pay to the company, East India Company. And here, the same amount he don't have to collect from the farmer. He was free to collect any amount of land tax from the farmers. So this is the thing. And commonly, for example, if he had to give 1 lakh rupees to the company, he may collect 2 lakh or 3 lakh or 4 lakh. The extra amount he can keep with him. This is the situation. As a result here, zamindars enjoyed and farmers they suffered a lot. But even though here, if zamindar failed to pay the land tax, the ownership of the land was taken away by the company. Yes. Here, farmers, how they suffered, we can understand by the words of Charles Metcalfe. According to Charles Metcalfe, he told the Indian farmers were born in debt, lived in debt, and died in debt due to the British land tax policies. From the birth to death, they could not repay the loan. Debt means loan. See how they suffered. The situation he explained in one sentence. Okay, this is permanent zamindar system. Next, we have to see Mahalwari system. This Mahalwari system was introduced by R.M. Bird and James Thompson in Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, and Delhi. Again, I want to say who introduced and where they introduced. It's very important one. R.M. Bird and James Thompson in Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, and Delhi. And here, big and small zamindars were the part of this system. So actually, this is another name of zamindari system, same type. And here, as company fixed more than the expected production, many zamindars had lost their ownership of land. So area, the person's different, but same type of zamindari system. And here Mahalwari system. Mahal means taluk. The head of the Mahal is Mahaldar. So this system is Mahalwari system. So this is the main points in the Mahalwari system. Next, another one. Actually, this is comparatively better than the previous two. Raitwari system. This Raitwari system was implemented by Alexander Reed in Baramahal region and Thomas Munro in Madras and Mysore region. Yes. And how it is different? So let's see that. The farmer and the company were directly linked. Here mediator not there, zamindar not there. In the previous two, from the farmers, zamindar will collect the tax and he had to pay that one to the company. He was a middleman. But here not like that. Farmers directly they will pay the tax to the company. And there zamindar was the owner, farmers only the workers there, but here tiller of the land was the owner of the land. Farmers were the owner of the land. They got the ownership over the land. And they had to pay 50% of the produce as a land tax. So it is a little bit more. 50% of the produce as the land tax. And this land tax system had 30 years tenure. Once in 30 years, they have to renew that one. Renewal of the tenure is necessary. But here another point we have to remember. In the Raitwari system, at the time of drought or famine, the farmer, they can ask for partial or complete concession. That system was there as a result. But whether they will give or not, that is separate. But they had that chance. Yes. So this is the difference from that two. So comparatively, this is better. So this is about Raitwari system. Yeah. Next, we have to discuss about, see, these three types of land tax system was there, and what is the impact of this land tax system. Because of the land tax system, a new class of zamindars was created. Many zamindars came up. The rich classes of zamindars came up. And slowly the farmers became landless. In the beginning, they were the owners of the land. Slowly, zamindar system developed. They lost the ownership over land. As the land became a commodity, see here, many times the farmers, they could not pay the tax. At that time, they mortgaged their land to get the loan. Loans could be raised by mortgaging the land. As a result, here land became the commodity. Then they lost their land. Many zamindars also had to mortgage the land to pay the tax. And many times what happens, we have to pay the tax. That's why if we grow the food crops, profit is very less. That's why let us grow the commercial crops. And agriculture became commercialized. Another thing, the intention of the British also like that they need commercial crop because to meet the demand of their industries, agro-based industries. They wanted to convert the whole India into agriculture land. Otherwise, India was industrial country. So British made it as agricultural India, agricultural land. And the money lenders became strong because to pay the tax, many times these farmers, zamindars, etc., they have to depend on money lenders. They became very strong. So these are the impacts of British land tax system. So next we have discussed about the education, modern education system. What are the changes they made in the education? So now let us see. First the changes, let us see, then afterwards impact. Warren Hastings facilitated the expansion of the modern education in India and started Calcutta Madrasa. So Warren Hastings facilitated the modern education system. And a Sanskrit college in Banaras was started by Jonathan Duncan. And Charles Grant stressed for the universalization of British education in India, in whole India. They wanted to give education to the people, for everyone. And here, modern education in India was introduced by Warren Hastings on the basis of the recommendations or the report submitted by T.B. Macaulay, Thomas Babington Macaulay. He submitted a report that became the base of the modern education in India. Actually, in the British Parliament, it was opposed. The parliamentarians opposed. But Macaulay told, we are not giving education to make the Indians to the officers and rulers. We have to make them clerks. As a result, the modern education system that curbed the questioning ability of the people and the thinking ability of the people. Only reading whatever the teacher says that when we have to listen and we have to write in the exam, we will by heart that and we will listen and then we will write in the exam and then we'll get the mark oriented, here knowledge oriented, not that. And we can't ask the question. That questioning ability already curbed. The modern system is like that. Our memory power will lose here. No work for that memory. Anyway, so on the basis of the report submitted by Macaulay, the modern education in India started. The use of English medium in the Indian learning system started in 1830. So as per the suggestions of Charles Wood Commission, Lord Dalhousie established universities in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. So in these three places, universities were established by Lord Dalhousie. on the suggestions of Charles Wood Commission. So these changes they made. By that, what is the impact? What is the impact? That one we have to see. Impact of British education in India. The Indians could develop modernity, secularism, democratic attitude along with the nationalistic ideals. So when Indians became educated, they started to learn from other countries also. They started to read the books of other countries. As a result, their mind broadened. They could develop modernity, secularism, democratic attitude along with the nationalistic ideals. The big change is indirect effect this one. Impetus to local literature and languages facilitated unity in thinking. And here, local literature developed, local language developed. Many books translated from English to local languages. And periodicals started emerging, enabled the Indians to have critical opinion. So many periodicals and newspapers started that made some critical opinion, gave some critical opinion about the British rule. New social and religious reformation emerged. Social religious reformations because the way of thinking broadened. No? That's why. And full world we will see. Otherwise, we will be like a frog in the well. And thoughts of J.S. Mill, Rousseau, Montesquieu brought fresh thinking in the minds of educated youth. Their books were read and it brought new ideas in the minds of the youth. Freedom struggle across the globe influenced the Indians. Why can't we fight for the freedom? In other countries they fought and they got the freedom. So that thinking came and Indians could understand and appreciate their rich tradition. We understood our tradition. We started to appreciate that. And here the oneness came because of the English education. Otherwise, we had different languages in India. With Bengali, the Karnataka people, they can't talk because we don't know. And with Tamil, with the Malayalis, or with Hindi, with Punjabi, we can't talk. But now English became the link language. Then we can share our feelings and opinion with the people of other state. So as a result, the feeling of oneness came that influenced in the freedom movement. So these are the impacts of British education system. And next we have to discuss about the constitutional development. The acts passed by the policies introduced and acts passed by the British became the base for the constitutional development in India. And let us discuss about the laws implemented during the rule of East India Company. First one I already told in the beginning, Regulating Act of 1773. To bring control over the East India Company, British government introduced this Regulating Act. According to this Regulating Act, mainly here what happened, some problems emerged. British East India Company, which collected more tax from the people, sucked the blood of the farmers. As a result, in the British Parliament, it is criticized and they told it is a criminal tax. We don't want that one. If it goes like this, definitely that will create some problem. That's why they wanted to control. So what are the major features of the Regulating Act? First one, the Bengal presidency got control over the other two presidencies. Otherwise, three presidencies, Bengal, Calcutta, Bengal means Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. So this Bengal presidency means Calcutta got control over other two presidencies of Bombay and Chennai or Madras. And Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of all the three presidencies. Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of all the three presidencies. And Warren Hastings was the first Governor General. He was authorized to direct, control, supervise over other two presidencies, over Bombay and Madras. He has the power to direct and control and supervise over that. And Bombay and Madras presidencies could not take independent decision without the permission of Bengal Governor General of these three. And the Supreme Court was established at Calcutta in Regulating Act in 1773, very important one. These are the main features of this act. Next, we have to discuss about another act in 1784, Pitt's India Act of 1784. And according to this act, under Pitt's India Act, to rectify the inconveniences of regulating act and to outline the powers of East India Company and British government, Pitt's India Act was introduced. Some problems were there in or inconveniences were there in the regulating act. For that, Pitt's India Act was introduced. And here, the board of directors was created there, which was replaced by board of controllers. Yeah, small change they made. And it had, the board of controllers had power to direct and control the land taxes, military and civil areas. Main areas they used to exploit actually, or they used to misuse it. So that's why they brought control over through board of controllers and curtailed the political rights of Indians. They reduced the political rights of the Indians. And government of England became the ultimate rule of India. See, slowly they are taking power from East India Company to the Parliament. Yes, this is the act. And this act declared that the Indians have attained their paramount power in the name of the British Empire only, but not on their own. This act says like that. So that is Pitt's India Act. Then we have discussed about Charter Acts. So what is Charter Act? So here every time, now and then, this East India Company, they have to renew their license, renewal of license. That is the Charter Acts. So the Charter Acts of 1793, 1813, 1833, 1853, etc. is there. So once in 20 years, they have to renew their license. At that time, these Charter Acts, some changes they will make. In that important Charter Acts we have discussed. The first one, Charter Act of 1813. So under this 1813 Charter Act, which authorized all interested persons to carry out trade in India from England, not only the company, East India Company, any people, any merchant was interested to carry out trade, they can come. Yes, this change they made, the demand of the people were met here. Yeah, trade era, the new free trade era started in India. Free trade era started in India. And a new era of license and authorization started. Giving license and authorization started here in the Charter Act of 1813. And the board of directors got the power to appoint the governor general and the commander in chief. Appointment of this one came under control of board of directors. And then the churches were allowed to enter into India officially. Why? These churches, the missionaries, Christian missionaries, they entered, officially they entered, unofficially they used to came. They came here and they established, they wanted to convert the Indians actually. They established their, officially they came through Charter Act and established their education institutions. And they used to say, enhance the moral and spiritual life of Indians. They want to say like that. They were directed to enrich the knowledge of Indians. So in that name, they established many educational institutions, especially their intention expansion of Christianity and English education started taking place in India through this entry of churches. So this is about Charter Act of 1813. Yes. So it is a historic act because of this. Next, Charter Act of 1833. What are the features here? Governor General of Bengal was named as Governor General of India. In the regulating act, Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of all the three presidencies. In Charter Act of 1833, Governor General of Bengal named as the Governor General of India. For whole India, he became the Governor General. He got the power to direct, control and supervise all trades in India. Not only in three presidencies, all trades in India. The government of Bengal had the right to decide the issues like war, peace, etc. See, Bengal, this Governor General, he had the power to decide the issues like war, peace, etc. Governor General was mandated to put his difference of opinion with the executive committee members in writing only. Whatever the difference of opinion he had with the executive committee, he has to give in writing, not orally. Barred any discrimination based on religion, birth, and skin color. If they make any discrimination based on these, it is banned. They should not do that. In the act, it is there, but actually they were doing. Governor General should appoint a law professional to executive committee. Lord Macaulay was the law member, first law member, T.B. Macaulay, Thomas Babington Macaulay. All British companies were allowed to have trade in India. All the British companies, they can come to trade in India under 1833. Yeah. So these are the main features of Charter Act of 1833. Yes. Next, British Government Acts we have to discuss. Indian Government Act of 1858. So here 1857, you know the year, very important one. Their first war of Indian independence or Sipahi Mutiny. After that, many changes were made. So that influenced this Indian Government Act of 1858. After that, big changes they made. The license of East India Company was cancelled. East India Company in 1600 established, which lost its license and its identity in 1858. Its license cancelled. India was brought under the direct control of the Queen of England. It's a part and parcel of British Empire. Governor General became Viceroy. See again, Governor became Governor General. Governor General became Viceroy. Lord Canning was the first Viceroy. Warren Hastings was the first Governor General. Lord Canning was the first Viceroy. A new post of Secretary of State for India was created in England. A Council of India was created to assist the Secretary. To assist the Secretary in the administration, a Council of India was created with 15 members. These are the main features of Indian Government Act or Government of India Act of 1858. So next we have discussed about Indian Councils Act of 1892. Here another one comes in the Indian Councils Act of 1861, and there much changes not there actually. Indians were nominated to the Council of Viceroy and non-official member. Indians were nominated there. They entered in the administration. Viceroy was authorized to proclaim ordinances in the case of emergencies. Yeah, there is only two under the Councils Act, Indian Councils Act of 1861. 1892. In that, this 1892 Act increased the number of members in the regional and central legislative bodies. Slowly, Indians are coming. Number of members of Indian members increased there. Legislative Council was allowed to discuss on budget related to issues. Budget related issues in that they can discuss. Before the discussion, not that. Now discussion started. Provision was made to question the government on public issues by serving 6 days notice in advance. By giving notice, 6 days advance notice, by giving, they can made to question the government. Before that, no question, WH questions, why, what, when, where, how, no chance. But now they got the chance to do that questioning under Indian Councils Act of 1892. So next very important one, Indian Councils Act of 1909, that is also called as Minto-Morley Reform. Here, Lord Minto was the Viceroy and Lord Morley was the Secretary of State for India. So these two together, they formed this Indian Councils Act of 1909 or Minto-Morley Reform. Under this, number of Central Legislative Council member was increased from 16 to 60, that much increase. And number of regional council members also increased. Many Indian members added there. Representation of regional council was allowed through election for the first time. The first time representation of the regional council through election was started. See, slowly democracy entering. Separate electoral college is a dangerous development started there. Separate electoral college was created to provide separate representation for the Muslims. So this is the divide and rule policy. They wanted to divide Indians, Hindus and Muslims. If they divide, they will quarrel each other, they will be safe. Otherwise, together if they come, it's very difficult to face. Both Muslims and Hindus come together, they will send the British out of India. That's why they were afraid. They changed. They wanted to divide. So that one started in 1909. Like by pleasing one section, they want to create division in India. So this one very important for the examination point of view. Next, another reform, that is Montego-Chelmsford Reform or Indian Councils Act of 1919. Here, Montego was the Secretary of State for India and Chelmsford was the Viceroy. And under this, formulated bicameral legislative body. Here, lower house and upper house started bicameral. Lower house, upper house started here. Now what we have in central Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, what we have, that one bicameral lower house, upper house started. Diarchy was allowed at regional government. In regional government, diarchy was allowed. But next act it will change. Again, remember, diarchy was allowed in regional government. High Commissioner was appointed for India and promoted to promised to improve local self-government. Whatever now we see, Panchayat, Taluk Panchayat, Gram Panchayat, Zilla Panchayat, etc. The local self-governments, they were promised to improve that. Provincial budget was separated from the central budget. In the provinces, its budget separated from that. See, central list, state list, like this, divided again. And again, another problem they created, separate electoral college was extended for Muslims, only Muslims in 1909 Act, but 1919 Act for 6, and Anglo-Indians and Europeans separate. So this one again created the problem in 1919. So this is about 1919 Act. And the next Indian Government Act of 1935. So this act is very important one. Mainly, most provisions of Indian Constitution are based on this act. Formation of full responsible government by the Indians started here, and let us see what are the features here. Acted as a base for the formation of Indian Constitution. Federal system of principalities, British governed regions and dominion states was formed. Federal system, central state, what we have like that. British principalities, British governed regions and dominion states. So like that divided. And another important one, RBI, Reserve Bank of India, was established in 1935. In the 1919 Act, I told diarchy was allowed in the regional government, but in 1935, diarchy was established at the center. Diarchy was cancelled at the regional level. Changes they made, and federal court was established. So, like this, many changes they made, and which helped in the development of constitution. And we understood that how the constitution slowly developed, how the British government took the power from the East India Company, and how the new rules and the modern government formed slowly emerged. So this is about the impact of British rule on India. So I hope you understood. So once again, thank you.